Hello, I'm Julie from the Spellbound Bead Company, and today I want to show you how to make some fancy hoop earrings. This is a really quick and simple design to make using ordinary wire and a really special bead. This also makes a great pendant. Now, the materials I need to make this rather dramatic design are actually very simple. I need some 0.8mm wire. This is a half hard temper, so it's got a little bit of spring to it. So when I put the shape in, it's going to stay there. I need some 6mm jump rings to make the join at the top, some ear fittings for the very top of the earring, and some extra little bits. I've got a couple of head pins. I'll need 2 for each earring. I've got some 3mm silver balls, some little faceted beads that tone with my feature bead. And today I'm using these rather beautiful ground face glass beads from Preciosa. They have a lovely little dragonfly impression in the middle, so they look like an insect caught in amber. The tools I need are very straightforward. I need some wire cutters, I need some round nose pliers, and I need a mould. The mould is going to make the circle nice and regular at the top, and I've chosen a mould that's approximately the same size as the bead that's going in the centre. As you can see, it's a little bit bigger, and the nature of the wire means that it will spring out just a little bit more. This happens to be a pot that we supply beads in, but equally you could use a marker pen. They obviously come in lots of different sizes. Have a look in your kitchen cupboard for all sorts of different spoon sizes. Or this is a garden dibber, which is great because you can make all sorts of different size circles. Just make sure that whatever you choose is cylindrical. Right, we're going to start off by making this circle at the top, the hoop part of the earring. I've got my 0.8mm wire here, and I'm going to work off the end of the reel because it's more economical. Now I'm going to make a pair of earrings, so I want to make everything twice. So I'm going to do 2 of everything, so everything matches, because when you're cutting wire it's very easy to do it all in one go. It's very difficult to come back and try and match it. I'm going to start with my thumb against the pot, holding the wire firm, and I'm going to wrap the wire the way it wants to bend. You can see there's a curve in the wire. I'm going to wrap it around the pot. I'm going to rotate the pot as I wind. I'm going to try and keep the winds quite close together. And I'm going to go around 2.5 times. And you saw there how it springs off the pot slightly, so it's a little bit bigger than my mould. And that's the half-hard nature of the wire. But it also means that it's quite a rigid shape, so it will stay in the shape we've made it. Now, I can feel on the end of the wire there's a little bit of a burr, so I'm just going to trim that away. I don't want that bit. And now I want 2.5 turns. So when I look on the top, that's 1 turn, that's 2 turns, and another half a turn is around here. I'm just going to snip. Put the wire to one side for the moment, and now I've got 2.5 turns of wire. And I need to separate it into 2 hoops, and to do that I'm going to snip the wire just there. If I clear away all the bits and pieces, you can see I have 2 circles that match. The next stage to making these elegant earrings is to make the wire fan at the bottom of the circle. These are all made from cut lengths of the same wire, and if I hold it up you can see that they swing as you move, and it gives the earring its real sense of drama. Now we're making 2 earrings, So I want this one, this length to match this length, and this length to match this length, but I also want them to match on the other earring. So I'm going to have to cut 4 pieces for there, 1, 2 and 2 for the other one. The same for this length, this length, this length, and just 2 for the very long one in the middle. So I'm going to start off with the short length. I'm back to my reel of wire, and I'm going to start with the shortest length. I'm going to go for around about 15 millimeters. I offer up the next one to the first and snip so they match, and we're going to do 4, 3, 4, and it's quite easy to hold 4 to 6 pieces of wire between your finger and thumb like this as you're measuring. Now I want to keep those 4 in there because then I can measure off the next one. I'm going to make it about 8 millimeters longer, snip, and then I put those down and just concentrate on this one. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4 of those, and now the next length about 8 millimeters longer again. Try and keep them in order because then it will be easier when you come to assemble. A bit more wire, and can you see there's a little kink in the wire there, so I'm just going to smooth that out. There we go, that's 1. There we go, that's 4 of that length, and the next one 8 millimeters longer again. Now on the original earring, as you can see, if I fan them out, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and then the centre one. Now I've got 3 so far, so I'm going to start on the 4th one, but you can add up to probably about 7 either side on a hoop this size. If you go for a larger hoop, you can add more. If you add too many, they tend to sort of jumble together and you lose the effect. So that's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so that gives me a pair for each earring either side. Now I'm going to cut the longer one. Now the longer one, the one in the centre, has a loop at the top and at the bottom, so I've got to allow the wire for that extra loop. So I'm going to measure against one of the previous lengths. Just straighten that out, and now we're going to go, that's the 8 millimeters extra length I added, and then I need to add about 4 millimeters for that extra loop, and 2 of those, 1 for each earring. So now we have all of our wire cut and prepared to start constructing our earring. Now we're going to start to turn these lengths of wire into the fan parts of the design, these bits here. Each short piece of wire from lengths 1 to 4 will need a loop at one end. The loops need to be the same size, so you need to probably do them all at the same time. There is a little bit of curve left in the wire and we need to get rid of that at the same time. So I'm going to roll my loop, centre it up, so it's a centred loop, hold my pliers on there and just make sure when I'm holding my pliers on there that the wire is straight. It's much easier to do it when you're holding it with the pliers. So I'll just do 1 of each length. As you get longer, you need to be a little bit more careful how you straighten it, and make sure that it's straight all the way up and around the loop too. You don't want any kinks here because then your fan won't hang straight. That's number 3. That's number 4. And that one needs a little bit more straightening because it's longer. And this is the long one for the centre. So a loop on one end. Let's straighten that out. A bit of finger pressure normally does it really well. That's nice and straight, and now I need to put a loop on the other end to take my dangle. Let's look back at the original, and you can see here when I hold it out like that, the loop at the top is in the same plane as the loop at the bottom. If I hold it that way, you can't see the centre of the loop. If I hold it that way, you can see the centre of both loops. That's what we want to achieve for a nice professional look. So I pick up my wire again to get the loop in the same plane. Make sure when you hold with your pliers at one end, the loop at the other end is facing like that. Roll away from yourself, and there you can see both loops in the same plane. Now it's also worth noting here, can you see here the wire goes around and the cut end of the wire is at the back, the same on the back on this end too. That will give us a professional finish because that is the front of our design. That will be the back. It's only a little thing, but it all adds up to a nicer looking earring. Now I'm just going to clear those away because I've actually already prepared a set of pins or fan components to match the completed earring. So here we have the completed earring, and these components match the earring. I'm going to take one of my hoops, and now we're going to start constructing. To start off with, I need to put a little loop on one end of the hoop wire. I'm going to hold my pliers across the face of the loop. You can see here the loop is actually touching back on the pliers. I'm going to make a little loop on the end of the wire. I'm going to centre it up, and this is all about playing again. When we look down into the hoop, you can't see the loop I've just made. When I hold it like that, you can see it's in a flat plane across the top of the hoop. Now I need to do the same on this end of the wire in a minute, but if I do it now, I won't be able to get my fan on. And that's a really important point. The amount of times I've made the loop on the other end and thought, right, so we're going to start threading the beads on. If I look at my sequence, I've got a few little seed beads and a silver bead as well. It's a good idea to have a tiny little bit of weight pressing down on the end of the fan to keep it together. So I'm just going to use a seed bead, silver bead, seed bead combination. And I've just used a pale olive colour to pick up on my bead. Right, now these are my fan components. And as you can see, they've got a front and back of loop exactly the same as on the long stem. This is the front of the loop where the wire comes up and over. That's the back of the loop where you've got the cut end of the wire. If possible, we want the front end of the loop to the front of the earring on each occasion. So we can see holding here, this is the front of the loop. So I'm going to put this on so the front of the loop comes around and it's the front of the loop on there. That's the first short fan segment. That's the second and the third and the fourth. This is my middle one. And then out to the other side. Now before we go on, I'm just going to check. When I hold it up like that, I can see that that is the front of the loop on all of those. When I turn it over, you can see that's the back. They all match. Makes for a nice, neat, professional finish. Okay, now I need to replicate that bead sequence. So it's seed bead, metal bead, seed bead, and we're nearly there. Now I need to make another loop on this end of the wire to match this one. When I finish, I need them to be approximately in the same place lengthwise. So at the moment you can see this piece of wire is a little bit too long. So I'm going to trim it back so the wire just overlaps by about 6 millimeters, a little bit more. I'm now going to make a loop in the same plane as this loop here. Now before I held my pliers across the face of the loop like that. This time I'm going to hold my pliers pointing out from the loop, and that way I'll get the front of the loop forming to match this. So hold it like that and roll away from yourself. Centre the loop, and now you can see the curve of that and the curve of that matches cut edge, cut edge. Now I just need to get them so they're almost but not quite touching and in a line. So just gentle tweaks, and that's absolutely perfect. Now I need to prepare my pendant. This is the easiest bit. Thread on your bead or your combination of beads. You can see that's just perfect for the centre of the space. Might be that you need to add an extra little filler bead or a seed bead, or you might need to leave a little bit of plain wire just so that you can get your feature bead right in the centre. Now we're going to join it all together using a jump ring. I'm going to twist open the jump ring using 2 pairs of pliers. So there's the gap in the jump ring at the top. 1 pair of pliers coming at a right angle, the other pair to grip the other side of the ring and twist it open. That's the jump ring open. Now I need to go down through the first loop, through the loop on my pendant, and up through the other loop. Now I need my ear fitting. Pop that on too, and make sure the ear fitting goes on the same way as everything else, so everything's going to face forwards. And close the jump ring. If I lay that down, you can see we're very nearly there. One last thing, we need a little dangle at the bottom. And that's made with a silver bead and a faceted bead just to pick up on that lovely olive colour. Snip. There's our little loop on the top. Twist the loop open. Pop it onto our connector. And there we go. 1 pair of fancy chandelier earrings made from very basic materials and a little bit of wire.